In this lesson, we're going to see how to work with lists and be able to select items out of a list or select an item out of a list. We'll start with a simple single selection. So let's get started. We're going to call this program lists.java. The first thing we're going to do is import the classes that we need. And we also need a fourth set of classes, and these are in java x.swing.event.star to work with a list. The first thing we're going to do is declare a label. We're going to use that to display our selection. Then our list, which is the JList class. So we do JList list. Then we're going to get our list data out of an array. Here we're going to pick some New York City sites that tourists like to go see. So we're going to declare our array NYC sites, and we'll populate that array in just a moment. Our constructor will start out by instantiating our objects. So we have a label, followed by our array of New York City sites. So bear with me while I type a few things in here. Just two more here. And that's good enough. So we'll stop right there. Now we'll instantiate our list, and we do that by passing the array into the constructor like so. And that will tell Java what items are going to be in the list. The next thing we need to do is we need to set a selection mode. And we do that by picking a value called single selection out of the list selection model class. So this says that when we click on a mouse, we're going to pick one item out of the list, and that will be the item selected. You'll see how that works in just a minute. The next thing we need to do is add our list selection listener, and that's a handful to type right there. And we do that by defining a void method value changed, and it looks for a list selection event, which means clicking on an item. And we define a variable index, which will get the selected index value of the list item. So the first item is index 0, and the second item is 1, and so on and so forth. When we pick an item, if that value is not equal to -1, then we're going to set the value of a label to the string site to visit plus the value found in the array at that index position. That's how we pull the value out. The list doesn't actually contain the items in that sense. They're still in the array, and so we pull it out from there, from the array. Now everything else is just housekeeping. And we set the size, set the default close operation, add the list to the frame, add the label to the frame, and then make it all visible. Finally, we write our main program. And call the constructor for our lists class. And then we're finished. Okay, so let's save the file. Cross our fingers that we don't have any typos. And we don't, so let's run the program. Let me bring it into view. Here's our list of 6 items. If we select one, it shows up in the label. We can go through and select them in order or out of order. However we select them, once we click the mouse button, then it picks that item out of the array not actually out of the list, and displays it in the label. So that's how lists work. Now, one thing we might want to add to a list is a scroll panel so that we can have a long list and have it not take up all of the frame with the list. And that's certainly something you need for any large number of items in a list. And we're going to see how to do that in the next lesson. So once again, very quickly, adding a list to a Swing application is essentially the same as what we've done for all the other widgets. The only difference is that we have to have a data source, the array, to store the list items. Then we instantiate the list item, set any properties like its selection mode, and then add a listener of some type to check for the event that we're looking for, in this case, the clicking on an item in the list, add it to the frame, and then we're set to go. So with that, we're ready to move on to the next lesson where we're going to see how to add a scroll panel to our list.